far from the coast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty far from the coast. And Damien's just on so many strike missions. It was funny because I think CJ was sitting wider, and they crisscrossed there as the paddle happened. I noticed as they were sitting in the lineup, CJ was wide of Damien. CJ always likes to sit on wide peaks everywhere he surfs. It seems like, look at this thing, what a drone shot! It's awesome. But it's going to be a competitive battle, I'm sure.
This heat, has priority. I kind of wish it didn't. It'd be fun to see if they could just scrap the whole thing.
I would actually be scared if it did not, because the way these guys battle is pretty scary. Remembering some of their heats where there wasn't priority, they are not afraid to paddle up each other's backs, scream at each other. I remember heat at Bells, they're literally yelling at each other. And then the heat in Santa Cruz where Damien was going to fall off tour, and it wasn't like, compared to like a Godowska's heat where they'd be, all right, you're back on tour, let's do this. I love you. for CJ, he's like, I want to knock you off tour. Let's do this right now.
If anyone's going to knock you off, it's going to be me.
Heavy.
Where was that at? Hossegor?
That was the Coldwater Classic.
Oh, Coldwater. There was one at Hossegor too that was a critical heat, and I want to say Damien won that heat. He needed to keep going.
So many great memories for Damien Hobgood. He won this event, but he also finaled the year with you, Kelly. He beat Mick Fanning in 07 when he won his title, which was huge for him because I feel like it was the event he always knew he was supposed to win.
That was also a year that Mick came on a free surf mission here to figure the wave out. He really put that time into trying to figure the wave out, and then he made the final, but he ran into a Hobgood wall. But I'll say that I probably got lucky in the heat against Damien that he got hurt because the wave he fell on, if he had not tried to straighten out and just came out the bottom, he was going to get a 10. And it was the heat. It was the year I got 2 10s, but his would have been better than either of mine. And I don't think I would have got either of mine as 10s.
Wow, so crazy looking back on surfing history. All Hobgood matchup. I know one goofy foot that's frothing for this heritage heat. Strider Wasilewski, have you made a pick yet?
Well, no, I'm not going to make a pick yet. I'd just like to see the battle. I want to see some more punches. That first one from Damo was pretty sweet, though, let me tell you. Quick little right handle, pow! And kind of stunned him on the ropes, I think, because that was a nice, deep line. He took a great line through that barrel, and he came out and had lots of emotion afterward. Let me tell you, there was a big, huge blip, 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 blip. At the end, it was great.
Well, Strider, there's been so much intensity and so much going into making this heat happen, and as we know, the swell's sort of been a little bit lully, in the last hour or so. How's the consistency changed into the evening now?
It's interesting. It has mellowed out, but the wind is mellowed out, so the conditions are amazing, and everything's actually come together, and when the waves come, they're perfect. So it's so fun to watch, and I just hope that they get a real flurry of solid sets in this heat, because I can't wait to see them put their head down and just get under it, because we've been watching some of the most amazing surfing all day, and well, thanks to guys like these guys in the water, and well, even, hey, Kelly, Ross, you guys doing putting your head down, old school, getting under it and just making it happen. And wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the old school paving the way.
Hey, I'm confused by that last comment. Thanks, Strider.
Yeah.
We love it. We love the insight from the channel.
I'll pull you back in.
Strider having fun with this classic heat. And,
I think he's overwhelmed with all the barrels he's seen today, and he's not allowed to get any yet.
And I think the topic, too, was having two legends in a moment like this. This is not something that you see every day for two guys that made such an impact on pro surfing, specifically a wave like this.
Head-to-heads.
How do we know who's who?
So it's 4-2.
That looks like Damien on the right to me.
Is it?
With 4.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. That's confusing to me.
You nailed it, Kelly.
Yeah, I think Damien's got 4. CJ's got 2. So you'll notice they're not talking. They're not like having a little chit-chat out there. They're like, I don't see him, he doesn't see me. This is serious business right now.
And CJ said this decides everything. Nothing matters in their life.
Of course he does, because he's down 4-2.
Oh, yeah, this might change.
Yeah.
By the way, this means everything.
By the way, that'll just make me 3-4 if I beat you.
I think it might have gone to, okay, the world title, staying on tour a bit longer, because they rubbed everything in. That was the kind of the way they rolled, which made them so insane out here. Even going to the paddle wave that CJ did get, that historical day that it didn't look paddleable, and he actually gave credit to Damien for for making him go. Kelly, you know that image from Brian Thielman. What was your takeaway from that moment, I guess, in Teahupo'o history on what CJ really achieved?
Well, to me, the super heavy thing about it is he wasn't behind it. He was like on the apex of that thing. So he didn't really even get barreled. He took off in the most difficult place to take off. If he was deeper, it probably would have been an easier drop. And you could see how close to the water he was. He was just like digging his toenails into the wax, trying to, oh, don't come off, don't slide off. I mean, that would have been a brutal wipeout. I actually, there was a year, I think it was 2002 maybe, a really big day we had out here. I watched Damien fall on a big one, like as big as it sets today. Ate it, was underwater for about 15, 18 seconds, came up facing the beach, and the next wave landed about a foot behind his head.
Ouch.
So he wouldn't even have seen or known what was going on. But I was just gonna mention too, I think there's other competitions going on with these guys. I think no matter who wins, the other one's gonna be like, I got the bigger one. I had a heavier drop. There's a few little things you pull out with your brother.
Might be impossible for these two to actually stop competing, because that wouldn't be their normal reaction to being brothers. As we focus on Damien Hobgood, Teahupo'o stat for him, 14.95 average heat total. And also his wins, heat wins, 29 excellent heats. We're talking 16 plus, just under the 20 mark. So that's how incredible that Damien was in his career.
That's really funny. I think these guys, you could picture them being 90 years old, both in wheelchairs and racing down a hallway, banging chairs. So they're going to be like competitive till their very last days. But I feel like CJ, he's the one that's kind of maybe slightly more than Damien forced the issue with this special heat. I feel like he's still got a little more competitive drive. When I was talking to Damien, he's like, that's cool. I almost told CJ I can't make it. I got stuff to do. And CJ seems way more like crazy-eyed about it, and really, he has something to prove. Both these guys have nothing to prove. But
Damien doesn't want to let CJ catch up.
Right, the 4-2.
Yeah, hey,
it makes sense now.
I don't even care. I'm good.
That's good. Looking at the deep stats with CJ, obviously retiring pretty recently, where we saw him get the 10 where he came behind the foam ball. 49 heat wins at Teahupo'o with 4 finals in his career. Even the first final back in '99 where he was runner-up to Mark Akalupo. I think before that he had to get past the local wild card, Manoa Drolet. And that was back in the top 3 wave system, going back to the late 90s. So CJ had all that longevity, and even in his send-off where he was thanking people in his retirement year, he got his best numbers right here at Teahupo'o. I think in that 10 came against Julian Wilson as well, which was huge.
That was such a cool barrel. It looked like everything just slowed down. He got stuck behind the foam ball, and he just sort of, it's like he didn't move. He was just standing there, and he comes out from behind the foam ball, behind all that turbulence. And I remember watching that going, where did he come from? Jadson had one of those yesterday in the free surf. Crazy one. Crazy.
From
like
behind the foam ball?
Yeah, but the thing was, when he finally came out off the foam ball, he then had to keep pumping to go through a whole other section. Wow. It was the best, up till today, it was the best tube I've seen all week.
So many highlights from the day. Jaddy was incredible. He's off and running into the quarterfinals as we're willing a set to come through. A 40-minute final, and CJ is still sitting out there with priority. Damien got the 7.5, which is feeling probably pretty solid the more time ticks away here, Ross.
Still 0 chatter going on. So, CJ...
Actually, they've separated more.
Yeah. He wants a big set to come in. CJ, you'd have to be frothing. So he's just trying to stay calm, stay collected. And Damien's not even budging either. He's got his back to his brother.
I think if CJ just gets only one wave, a big giant one, and gets a nice barrel, no matter what else happens in the heat, he'll feel like, I kind of took that one. No matter who does win it.
He's still going to rub it in. This might end up being a series where they just battle at all the venues around the world.
I think we should throw it out there to the crowd to have these at each venue. And, it'd be fun to see a little mongrel heat between Shane Horan and Mark Richards with no priority. The old school rules. Bring on the old school rules.
And who'd be most excited about that would be Shane. For all those years that MR was on the hot streak of 4 straight world titles.
Well, MR'd come in with no pressure.
Yeah, he'd be like, I'm happy. What an incredible Heritage Series heat. Damien versus CJ, just the 7.5 for Damien Hobgood. Oh, well, Kelly, coming from Cocoa Beach, I mean, you're pretty close to everything around the world with uprising stars, but take us to that early era when you started to learn about CJ and Damien and their reputation that they were building, you know, through all the amateur events on the East Coast.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw either of them surf was at Spanish House down near Sebastian at an NSSA contest, and they were either 6 or 8 years old. And everyone was like, "These are the kids, man. You got to watch these guys." And you know, you hear that about a lot of young kids, and life is long, you know, and you got to go through a lot of things to get to each of those next levels, and they both did it, and that's the incredible thing. We had a really great hotbed of talent in Florida at that time, especially at Sebastian through the 80s and into the 90s when Sebastian was a good wave. The beach has changed and it's altered the actual wave that we have there, but all the good surfers surf there. So, you know, the era before us with the Mike Tablings and the Matt Keckleys and Pat Mulherns and John Futch, and just every day you go there, there's 20 good guys out. And so we all benefited from that. You know, Todd Holland and myself and the Hobgoods, the Lopez brothers, Gabe Kling. It just was one after another of us guys from Florida that all benefited from all that energy in that area, I think.
Oh, so cool to see them come out of that talent, which is really cool to think about what they did on the main stage. It kept the question going, how hungry are these guys from Florida to stand on top of a ledging wave like Teahupo'o Tahiti? As we flash back to 2007, Damo's here to take out the big win over Mick Fanning in the final.
Yeah, insane. Oh, look at that. That was gnarly. Jeez.
That was that crazy moment where he injured himself, the final with yourself, Kelly, where he ran into the ski and hurt himself in that final. He's taken some bumps and bruises over the years.
Look at the shorts.
Yeah, he'll go for it. And as you've seen, there's not a lot of guys come off the world tour and end up on the big wave tour. It's a real specialty thing. And then you've seen Damien surf in a couple of those now and get himself out to Nazare and get some giant waves and chase those big giant swells to Cloud Break the other year. Like a couple big swells he went there on, and you know, he'll go for anything. Another name I was going to throw out there was Pipe Master from Florida, Jeff Crawford, early 70s.
There you go.
He won the 2nd or 3rd Pipe Masters. So there is an odd thing about you know, Florida guys loving barrels. I think we're just it's like a kid whose parents don't let him have sugar. And eventually you start stealing the chocolate bars from the store, you know, and get yourself in trouble.
Really good analogy. That's perfect.
Get a taste of it. Just like CJ had the crazy paddle wave, Corey Lopez had a crazy paddle wave as well out here that really built his career and beyond. Love looking at the flashback footage because that footage is still so relevant, you know, on a wave like today. Damien, you know, in that final with Mick, but got past Parco, got back past a lot of Aussies that day, including Ace Buchan in the early rounds, got past Jeremy Flores, eventual event winners. Right. But Damien was so fired up, I don't think anyone was stopping him.
Yeah, it's crazy. The surfing at Teahupo'o hasn't evolved that much. I think one of the biggest maneuvers, ironically, is kind of a kick out with you know, the needle drop and getting out the back at such a...
Claims.
I will say trunks have definitely gotten better. See how huge those trunks were.
Huge trunks.
And then boards getting shorter.
Well, boards have gotten shorter, but also there are more guys that charge. There are more guys on tour who are great barrel riders than there used to be. And, you know, you knew coming here 10, 15 years ago that there was 4 guys who had a chance to win the thing if their waves are barreling. Now you look and you go, it's kind of up in the air. I don't know. It's like, each will look great in these free surfs. So, you know, you get Julian, you got Gabriel, and you go down the list. Owen, Michelle, who's never really had a good result here till this year. Just one after another. It's hard to go and just pick somebody and at this point and say these people are definitely gonna win their heats.
And what a great statement for the state of the top 34 that we have in 2019. You're still watching the Hobgood Heritage Heat. Damo with the 7-5. Do your wave chant for CJ. He needs a bomb. We'll be right back. The Freshwater Pro coming up September 19th through the 21st. You can get your tickets now and join us in Lemoore, California for the championship tour as it continues. Man-made perfection. We saw all the pressure on the world's best last season. As we get caught up during the break, CJ got his first wave here. We'll see what happened on the wipeout.
Well, CJ pulling the trigger on a medium-sized wave. Probably just got a little antsy, and he said, you know what, I got to get going. But just was a touch too deep on that one.
And a tough wait. Obviously, 40-minute final down to 17 minutes. His first striking complete. Now with Damien Hobgood, a 7-5 and priority. How strong is Damo looking to really shut this down, Ross?
He's in a really good spot, especially if the first proper set comes in. Damien's going to have the pick of the litter. And, you know, he could drop a 9 and then really take control. But we have seen typically 2-wave sets out here, and we haven't seen a proper set yet. So CJ's definitely still in there.
Great to see these guys together once again. Just two brothers going blow for blow. Damien made the move to Southern California quite some time ago down in that Carlsbad region, where CJ, like you mentioned, Kelly, living in Orlando, and what he calls himself the highest rated sales rep, just over Nate Yeomans. He's always on the road doing work, but you know, still out there following pro surfing. What a game changer for him. And one thing I was wondering is, okay, coming off the streets and going into surf shops and talking to the core of the core and selling things with Salty Crew, and then to just jump back into this competitive fire against his brother on a big west swell. I mean, a guy like CJ, I guess, is up for the task.
He's ready. It's just in both these guys' blood. But I don't think you'd see CJ surf right now and see any rust in the surfing.
Big takeoff for CJ Hobgood.
Classic drops he has where he hugs the face. Two hands. He does a lot of two-hand stalling. Here we go.
And now a Wild West one setting up for Damien Hobgood. Pulls in quickly in a huge barrel and a flyaway kick out. Really short rides, but very intense. And here comes the paddle battle.
Oh, Duma just 10 feet behind, so we probably won't see the battle. And we'll draw these waves back from the front and see how deep they got. It's really about, you know, we're going to be splitting hairs here. I feel like these rides are pretty similar.
So CJ under priority. Damien had the luxury of picking the wave that he wanted and got maybe a little more of the barrel, but yeah, the front on angle will tell the story. Those takeoffs incredible, and I love the two-hand stall you mentioned, Kelly, especially how crouched he can stay. This is CJ's.
Yeah, nice drop there, but you can see CJ didn't get too deep. That hung up just for a half a second, and then it kind of propelled him forward. So it should be a pretty small score, to be honest, from CJ. Even though it was a beautiful drop, for sure, if he watched that back, CJ would have wanted to be a little deeper in there.
So CJ clear to the exit. What could he have done here to get more points on this wave, Kelly?
It just didn't have that wall he was probably hoping for, bending back at him on the end. But looks like he's got a smile on his face. And then here we go, his brother, a little bit more critical takeoff. And he tried to kick out to get priority. I think he actually did. But this is, I think when you have heats like this, there's such a build-up in our heads. You want to see these guys just go at it. We want to see toe sets where they're like trying to sneak into one at some angle. And it's been a little bit of a letdown on the lull situation here. And it hasn't really let CJ get himself in the heat compared to Damien's 7.5 so far.
I want to see, sorry, Joe, I want to see if the chatter starts, because now we're going to have, there it is, it dropped. So 5.4, so a clear advantage. 8.57 needed for CJ. So now let's see if I'm Damien, I'm going to start getting a little chatty.
Actually, Damien just said, I kind of got you on the ropes right now.
Would he?
Yeah, I saw, I could read his lips. Like,
And that kid's either
but he said it like this, kind of got you on the ropes there, buddy.
I don't know, like, we're having fun though.
Two of the classics, Hobgood versus Hobgood. Damien with the lead, 7.5 and now a 5.4. And CJ is a 4.33.
Whatever it is, I want to just see a big finish. Let's just see let's see a rally of 2 or 3 big sets at the end of this heat. It's been too long that there hasn't been a big set, so they're bound to get something here.
Oh, so cool how the momentum was created to will this heat to happen, and it was really just going to happen if the waves were pumping. You know, for both the Hobgoods, you know, we're not going to see them surf in 1-foot conditions. We wanted this swell for them to really just put everything to bed with their rivalry. Two of the great tube riders in the world that, won at other venues. But when you've got a reputation on this wave, that's usually people's last memory in their head of seeing you compete at a high level.
Absolutely, yeah, and they talked about it too. I had a chat with both of them, and they were staring at maps, they were looking at the reports, and they're like, okay, let's do it only if it's pumping, and their wish came true.
And so many accomplishments, and I think it was always tough for CJ when the year was stopped short because of the tragedy of 9/11 when he won the world title. The European leg was canceled. I think some people had an asterisk next to his title. And I think people tried to say, hey, you were #1 in the world at the end of the season. You won that world title that season. I think there was a while where CJ had to adjust to it, as you see in his documentary, of thinking, okay, well, is that worth the same as all the other world titles in the world? Kelly, what's your take on that?
I'd take it.
Yeah, you take it for sure. That trophy is
you
your
get
#1
bonuses,
that season.
you get that trophy, and you set your mark. And all of us are trying to be at #1 at every stage of this year. There's not some point where like, okay, I want to be behind and just like catch up. I'm sure Kolohe would have been happy if the year only had 5 events or whatever it was. He got in the lead there. It's just you just try to stay there once you make it. And it was a weird year. We all agree that was a weird, strange year in the world, and in our world as well. And then you had people like Rob Machado, Rob had an injury, also had his first child that year, and there were maybe some complications, so he had to miss an event just to be at the hospital and make sure everything was okay. So then you have 3 events, or 4, how many 5 events? How many events? 5 events maybe?
Great question, yeah, it was a short year.
And Rob missed 2 or 3 of the events that even happened. So, and he fell off tour subsequently because of that situation. It was just it was definitely a strange year. I think CJ being a humble champion, I think he's probably a little sensitive to that himself, and he didn't want to he's not a claimer, No. He's not the kind of guy. In fact, you could probably go back through his career and see he probably only claimed about 5 waves his whole career, but he didn't personally claim anything. He's got such a soft spot for everybody, and he didn't want to say I was the best or whatever.
So true.
But he was that year.
I want to say too, quickly all his peers backed him up, which is a sign of respect. Everyone has a lot of respect for CJ. That year he won, everyone backed him up quickly. No, buddy, you won. So that was a testament.
I agree. World champ CJ Hobgood. Here comes Damien.
He might sneak out of this thing. Oh.
Wow, a huge drive deep in the pit, but can't find the exit, just seeing the foam ball. Still has the lead. His first fall in the matchup against his brother. And now CJ with priority, now needs an 8.57. Damien paddling back out. He'll have to try to sneak under this section. Looks like he had enough of a jump start to emerge nice and clean. Strider Wazalewski enjoying this Heritage Final has an update for us. What do you have, Waz?
Yeah, no, I just paddled out the back before that little set came through and was wondering where the chatter was. And they said, we don't want to miss a set, man. We're a little too focused right now to get this chatter going. We got to get a good one before we start smat talking.
There we go.
I think that's what they got. They're just trying to put some under the belt right now. It is looking pretty beautiful out here. But Damo's paddling by right now. How you feeling, Damo?
Well, I don't want to miss the big one, so.
He's going to get back out there. He looks like he's breathing pretty heavy, though. I think he took some gas on that last one.
Oh, we love it, Strider. Great insight. We were wondering if it was trash talk out there like we saw in the past when they were both fighting for titles. But looks like they're just making sure that they're taking advantage of this moment with the crowd, the lineup to themselves. What a treat. And these guys both deserve it for all they've done, not just in this venue, but on tour for so many years.
Absolutely. And you can understand why they're really concentrating, because when you're out of the jersey for a number of years, all those reps, everything becomes second nature and it's easy to compete. But both these guys are coming in dry, so you have to kind of recalibrate and remember all the little nuances and all the right decisions you need to make to win a heat.
Tell me about it. I've been out of the jersey for the better part of a year and a half, 2 years, and it's been tricky for me, even after all the heats I've had in my life, and competing for, this is my 40th year competing. since I was a little kid, but you get real sharp when you're in a lot of heats, especially if you're winning heats, because you get more and more confident and you start to be able to feel like you're controlling what's happening out there. But when you haven't surfed a heat for a while, certain situations you're not totally clear what's the right choice, and to stick with it, you might doubt that choice a little bit.
Little opportunity here. Ross, you're hoping someone's going to look at that inside.
Well, CJ has priority. Let's see if it switches, because he gave it a pretty good look.
And you called it a switch of priority to Damien, but CJ still has some space. Two
Double
hands on the wall of the face. Signature CJ.
A two-hand stall, you saw it coming. He just needs that one wave to kind of be in this heat, you know, and then let's get a big flurry at the end and have. It'd be nice to have a set that comes that's real confronting.
I agree.
Because I think these guys are both going to take one of them.
It's yet to come.
Guaranteed.
Right?
And
Yeah.
you think about those heritage heats, how much we celebrate, you know, all the rivalries from the Potts and Gurr story, BL, Damien Harmon. How was Tommy Carroll at Pipeline?
Oh, yeah.
That was unbelievable. He was getting so barreled that day with so many iconic legends. From Derek Ho was in that heat.
That's right.
Gary Elkerton.
And Tommy Carroll was on the relic board, too.
That's right.
The Rawson tiny little swallowtail. Yeah.
So many great memories, and guys that have given so much to the tour. Scores coming through for last to CJ. It'll improve his one, but he's really looking for a bomb at this stage. Needs an 8.57, and if you guys haven't seen their documentary yet, and 2 if by Sea, it's a must-watch. They tell basically their entire story as we look back at CJ's win.
Yeah, judges letting him know you're going to have to get a little more behind it, get deeper. It also was the second wave of the set, and CJ just kind of picked up the scraps there.
He did look at that first one and didn't go. The first one was a better wave. He probably knew it. He's probably a little frustrated right now.
Yeah.
You know, no one's going to be more let down about the lull of sets than these two guys. You know, we all want to see it, but they're out there feeling it, and they're probably a little bit like, gosh, we came all the way here. We got this time. It's been pumping all day. Like, just give us something.
That's exactly what they're hoping for.
I think they should run it until a big set comes, no matter what. I don't care if that's till dark.
Keep it going. For Damien, he's going to be like, are you kidding me? Let's stop this thing with me in the lead.
Like, we're good.
He might go back on that, though, and just say one more bomb for each of them at Teahupo'o, Tahiti. Guaranteed they're staying out until dark, and they'll be hanging out with us through a finals day tomorrow with the quarters already set. And it was really cool to have CJ and Damien at different times in the booth. They gave each other space because they didn't want to say the same thing. Still competing there, which is great. But their insight on the next generation out here was incredible. You can tell they're still watching everything that's happening on this whip.
They threw subtle darts at each other about their commentating.
Here we go.
They were competing.
Here we go. Here comes that set we've been waiting for. You can see those lines coming out of the west.
Puma.
This thing will go down more than it'll go up. Who's underneath it?
CJ.
CJ.
Checked it
Just
out.
a little bit above that one. That was a pretty good wave.
Damien let that one go. Let's see if it paid off waiting for number 2.
Well, this one will have no water on the reef. It's going to go backwards. He's got to be way inside underneath it. And again, look at how gnarly that thing was.
Backless bomb that appeared to have no entry for the Hobgoods.
Third wave will most likely have too much whitewash on their face. Right now, they're both just a mixed bag of emotions. They want to perform, and that set was ugly.
What
By
a
ugly, you
nasty
mean
looking inside.
By ugly, you mean beautiful.
Oh, what a set that just came through.
Well, there was a small window to take off on it, but like you said, Kelly, he would have had to have been paddling so hard and way underneath it.
Yeah, and that was sort of a situation. I mean, look, I don't think it really matters, honestly, at the end of the day, to either of these guys who wins this heat. They want to get good waves, and but at the same time, the heat is in Damien's hands, and CJ was out of position. So if you're going to look at it competitively, Damien's like, oh, I'll just let this one. He was, he was too far out, and CJ was too far in, and he didn't want to just go over the falls and then, eat it. And there's only 4 minutes left, and he doesn't get that set that comes. I mean, he had the chance there, but they were both slightly out of position. They both probably haven't surfed Big Teahupo'o in a little while, and I haven't. I felt myself a little bit out of position today.
Well, let's get more insight on what that wild, ugly, but beautiful this west set looked like from Strider's angle. Waz, what'd you see?
I saw kind of almost no entry there. It was I saw a set like that come through earlier in a heat with the tour happening, and nobody got it. And that was kind of like that set. It was just sucking up pretty heavily and doubling up. So, you know, you would have had to be super 100% committed and probably still got tossed. But Kelly said he wanted it, so we'll see.
I don't think he could have made that wave.
It was pretty gnarly.
Had
It
to
was
be
upside
way
down.
under that.
There's a handful of people on the planet that probably would have given it a dig, but that would have been extremely technical. You would have had to have slid down the face.
Unbelievable set, just adding to the drama of the finale of this Hobgood Heritage Heat. Damien still with the lead, 2:20 to go. Priority with Damien. CJ still needs an 8.57 to take this one. What they said will settle it all. We believe they'll compete forever. I'd love to see these guys at Pipe. I'd love to see these guys in any beach break, because that's what they brought, that amazing rivalry that really pushed themselves. You know, Damien was put to the question earlier, like if he could beat anyone, even yourself, Kelly. He just was like, I just want to beat my brother. I mean, that was in the forefront of his mind right now. And I love that they got their dream wish today.
Well, we got another set out the back. You see the second or third wave out there. You can see it kind of looming. The funny thing is here, it always looks like there's a wave out the back. There's always some lump. It's just whether it's coming at you or it's missing somewhere over towards the channel or a bit too deep on the reef. But that does look like a little bit of energy coming at us here. Another minute and a half left. And I can see that might be coming more from the south. You can kind of see it on the left side of the screen there. And I'm also having a huge wishful thinking here to get another chance at it before the heat
Trying
ends.
to will it to happen, because we're approaching the final minute. 12.9 total for Damien. He can control the outcome. He can decide for his brother which wave he gets or doesn't get. And it's decision time now with a minute to go. Damien Hobgood pulling the trigger deep on this one. And gets a beautiful ride straight to the shoulder to step off on a bomb. What a great ride for Damien to improve on a 5.4.
Just peering out the back, hoping there's a big one for CJ to try and make some sort of a comeback. That's going to get rid of Damien's 5.4, I believe. So he's going to need even a higher score than that 8.5.
So what a situation for CJ under pressure, and all happened with a quick start from Damien, a 7.5 early, significant lull in this 40-minute one-heat final. Then CJ pulled the trigger, got a 4.33, and didn't really get a chance to open up. That set that did come through was wild and didn't have a clear entry into it. So I'm actually a little thankful they let that one run through.
Yeah. You could see their good friends that came, Zach and Joe, two friends of ours from Florida, came along with Damien and CJ, said they couldn't miss this. They're caddying for him in the channel. You can see them there, they got their cameras out and stuff. There's a good moment for all of those guys.
And those guys would always be here in Tahiti to watch these guys perform when they're full-time on tour. What a special treat. Damien Hobgood takes the finale.
Wow.
Or will we add to be continued? This is usually how a good sequel is created.
Does that make it 5-2?
It does, but it left us wanting more because the waves just, the swell's here, but the waves weren't there in that heat. I think we're all going to agree to that. Damien, hey, on tour, you got to be the guy who picks the right waves, and he did that. Here's a little insider. See if CJ can get at least a little bit of redemption at the end there. But yeah, I think we might have to see that one run back next year, man, if there's some swell.
Wouldn't mind that one.